Hello and welcome, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Mark Tattershaw. I am Vice President of Business Development for the ASMG Group of Companies. ASMG is part of AIAC, which consists of 18 manufacturing companies mainly based in North America. Today, we would like to present an expert-based objective discussion on reshoring options that North American companies have by getting a better understanding of the nearshoring to Mexico benefits. The focus will be on why it is important that North American companies reconsider their Chinese sourcing by considering a total cost of ownership TCO-based supply chain optimization strategy and other influencing factors to avoid the supply chain disruption without any additional cost burden. Firstly, please let me introduce you to John Wilbur, the Managing Director at American Industrial Acquisition Corporation, AIAC, as well as the CEO of AIAC's Aerospace Specialty Metals Group, ASMG, portion of their portfolio. Since joining AIAC in 1999, by focusing on both organic and acquisition growth, John has advanced the ASMG portfolio from a $10 million to an annual revenue of $270 million group of companies. John firmly believes that a successful and strong manufacturing base is vital to North America and especially to the USA. John is a degreed engineer and has over 40 years of manufacturing experience, from startups, turnarounds, acquisitions, mergers, and technological transformation. John has led multiple companies producing basic raw materials through to large integrated assemblies, primarily utilized in the military, aerospace, and aircraft aftermarkets. Secondly, please let me introduce you to Mark Simmonds, the Vice President and General Manager of Alejandro Aerospace, who are an ASMG AIAC company. Alejandro have facilities in the US, Canada, and Mexico. Mark has extensive experience setting up facilities in China and Mexico, and has been responsible for the Alejandro Chihuahua facility for the last 10 years, working closely with our partner, American Industries. Mark has an MBA from Warwick University and an engineering honors degree from Solent University. Our final panelist today is Alejandro Lara, who is an American Industries board member. Alejandro has an MBA from IPADE Business School in Mexico City and a BA from the University of San Diego. He has more than 15 years of experience in the promotion of business investment in Mexico through shelter administrative services for more than 30 companies, as well as the development of major industrial real estate projects. His experience has been supporting corporations establishing manufacturing facilities in Mexico for a variety of industries such as automotive, aerospace, electronics, furniture, and many others. Additionally, Alejandro has several years of experience running a ceramic tile manufacturing facility. Gentlemen, thank you and welcome. I really appreciate you taking part in this podcast today on China reshoring, with a special focus, of course, on the very real cost beneficial nearshoring option in Mexico. John, first question for you, please. Can you please tell me more about ASMG and how the AIAC group of companies can offer a vertically integrated reshore solution?
Sure. Thank you, Mark. ASMG is a $370 million corporation. It's an arm of American Industrial Acquisition Corporation, which is a roughly $1.6 billion group of companies. And we're the Aerospace and Specialty Metals Group. And we're completely horizontally and vertically integrated. We have plants that do closed die, semi-open die, and open die forgings in all metals. We have facilities that do sheet metal fab, sub-assembly, and complete assembly. We have specialty machining houses that do 3, 4, and 5-axis machining, do electrochemical machining, EDM, we do water jet, laser jet machining. We have facilities that do rapid prototyping. We have facilities that do injection molding, specialty electronics and electronic assemblies. We have a myriad of manufacturing facilities with capabilities that we work together with to provide our customers with total best value solution. We're located in North America, in Canada, the USA, and Mexico, and we also have a facility in Spain. In addition to that, we also have capabilities in terms of we're all the ISO and AS certifications. We have automotive certifications, lab capabilities. We have project management skill sets. So we really can be a full solution provider to our customers.
Excellent. Thanks, John. Good to hear. So over 10 years ago, you set up a manufacturing facility in Mexico. How did you evaluate Mexico versus China as a low-cost manufacturing location? And along with that, you selected American Industries as a partner. And why do you now believe that nearshoring to Mexico is in many cases a serious option for North American companies that they should be considering as part of their reshoring strategy?
Well, it's interesting you asked that because it's actually 20 years ago plus that I first went over to China. And at that time, I had gone to a supplier symposium, and I had also gone to an industry event where there had been personnel there that were really pushing my company to set up production in China. And I was getting quite concerned. So I physically went over there and I spent 2 weeks in China, and I visited equivalent facilities to what I was doing in the States. And after that 2-week period of time, there was no doubt in my mind that there was tremendous capability in China. However, in the type of industry I was in, I knew that it really didn't matter at that point. Typically, they weren't capable of meeting the stringent requirements I was doing in my facilities. And they asked me an awful lot of questions, which told me that they weren't up to par with us on the type of particularly aerospace products we were making. So I let that go, and I didn't really worry about it. And as we expanded ASMG and we our other facilities, then we went into more of commercial aviation, and our customers were asking for significant cost reductions from us. And there was really no other choice but for us to look at a low-cost solution. And initially, we had known some of our competitors had set up plants in China. So once again, myself and the senior team, we got together and we spent another week plus in China. And we looked through the whole myriad of everything that would do to set up a facility there, including the full facility design, what we would physically do there, how we would do it. And we spent 6+ months doing this process. And I can tell you that some of the things that really were an issue for us in China were, first of all, there was a time zone issue. You know, it was a significantly different time. It took a lot of time to get there. If there were problems, it was going to be very difficult to resolve them quickly. The actual logistics of shipping things and getting it to the States was going to take a long time. Lots of things traveled over the water. Air freighting things needed in a hurry was going to be very expensive. So you really had to worry about those things. We were worried about intellectual property and IP transfer. Those things were critical to us, and we worried. We even went so far as in our process, we determined that and were assured that even though there were employees that we could potentially hire over there that actually worked for the Chinese government, and we wouldn't know that they would be able to tell us they did, so we wouldn't hire them. Those were difficult things to even grasp, that you would actually have somebody come work for you that was actually working for the Chinese government, being paid by them and paid by you. And furthermore to that, the working conditions and the environmental record there, most of the places that we went, and we went all over China, the air quality was very poor. Safety standards were horrendous. That's not to say that we didn't see state-of-the-art facilities there. We absolutely did. But when we made it all together, we were very concerned. We had one OEM we did business with that had tried to set up an assembly over there with a supplier. And just in travel alone for this one program, they had spent over $1 million in travel and living costs for their employees to go over there and try and help them come online. When we looked at all that, we said, we cannot afford to spend that kind of money and set this up. It's just a tremendous amount of risk. Concurrent with that, we had heard about the maquiladora process in Mexico, and we were well aware that there were successful companies in Mexico. And the difference we felt when we got to Mexico was that culturally, there were a lot of similarities with Mexico and the US. In fact, half of the US once was Mexico. So there's a lot of cross-cultural situation there. Language-wise, a lot more Spanish-speaking people in the US and in Canada for that matter. And there were a lot of English-speaking people in Mexico, as there were in China, but nowhere near the same level of capability and capacity. And many individuals in Mexico had gone to school in the US. It was a very robust capability there. So we went throughout all of Mexico, which, by the way, is an absolutely fabulously beautiful country and has a lot to be proud of. And the things we were looking for were just the things that we weren't seeing in China. So from a time zone standpoint, very similar time zones to the US and Canada. When you look at logistics, very easy pathways in and out of Mexico in multiple areas to get products across the border. The whole maquiladora process made setting up very easy for us. And we did look at several firms that could work with us, but we found that American Industries had the best team and process in place, and we felt we could be successful with them. And one thing I might mention that I failed to mention about in China, some of our other concerns there were the building construction capability. We went there and we looked at facilities that were supposedly just a couple years old, and they looked like they were 30 years old. And we went to Mexico and we looked at buildings, and some of them were 10 and 15 years old, and they looked newer than the plants we saw in China that were brand new. And the construction standards, the environmental requirements were the equivalent or better than the US. The safety requirements were the equivalent or better. The living standards of the employees that were going to be working in our facilities, we actually went to the neighborhoods where we would be hiring employees from, were places that were excellent living conditions. There was a lot of well set up programs internally for employees, learning English as a second language, having doctors and nurses come into the facility, breakfast and lunch provided by the facilities once you had them in there. So you knew childcare, there were all things that were set up there that helped to make it be a successful enterprise. And beyond that, we felt very comfortable that we were going to be able to find the technical and resources that we needed to run the plant day to day, whether that be engineers or HR or purchasing professionals, finance professionals, manufacturing engineers, foremen, and so on, and the actual hourly employees, excellent training programs, everything that we needed, and the government was working very closely with us, along with American Industries, to be successful. So let's see if I miss anything here. Energy costs were very similar. So it was all about the labor pool and capability and the true desire in the government of Mexico to not steal our intellectual property. It was more to create jobs for the people of the country so that the country could continue to progress. So hopefully that gives you an idea of why we picked Mexico.
Excellent. Thank you so much, John. Appreciate that. Very interesting. Mark, can you please give us your background in setting up facilities in China and Mexico, and how working with American Industries and having a low-cost Mexican facility has worked out? And most importantly, and what are the benefits that Armprior and the ASMG group of companies can offer to US and Canadian-based companies? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. A great question. And before I ask that question, I just want to say it's great to be part of this podcast with everybody, particularly yourself, Alejandro. I've had the pleasure of working with American Industries now for more than 10 years, and you have a fantastic team, and it's definitely been part of our success, our journey in Mexico. So, Mark, to answer your question, I have had the pleasure of working in China for several years and Mexico, starting up new facilities with great teams of people. And really, the initial startup of setting up a factory in China and Mexico is actually very similar. Both countries offer incentive programs to build a factory and encourage, foreign direct investment in their country. Both countries offer incentives for recruiting people, creating jobs. Both have similar startup timeframes. You can build a factory in China or Mexico, anywhere between 6 months and 10 months, depending on how complex the facility is. And I've got to say, the skills and the people in both countries, fantastic. I enjoyed working with everybody in China and everybody in Mexico. Great, talented, quick learning people, both in China and in Mexico. What I found personally is where the difference begins is after the startup phase. So once you've done the fun of building a factory and installing all the equipment and recruiting the team, really generating a business that's going to sustain and be a profitable business for many years, that's when you start to feel the difference between the two models. So, in China, I agree with what John's saying, the quality of the building isn't as good. So you tend to have to maintain your facility in China much more regularly. The building standards aren't as robust, whereas in Mexico, they're much more robust. Our facility in Mexico now is more than 10 years old, and it's still a brand new building. Still looks fantastic. And we haven't had to, spend significant dollars to keep it that way. The other thing you find in China is the attrition can be cyclical. So attrition tends to happen generally every 2 years. And you find that Chinese people tend to want to boost their resume. So they literally on a 2-year clock change their job. So, you're continually having to retrain and replace key people in your workforce. Now, you have to do the same in Mexico. But with Mexican workers, we find that you treat them well, you create a safe working environment for them, they will stay with you for decades. And that's an experience we've had. The other thing we found in China is there's a lot of hidden costs. So, you create the original business model, it's based on what startup consultants and partners will share with you. But it's not until you've been running that you really find the hidden costs. John mentioned the time difference. Because of the time difference, you have to travel there more often, and it's a long trip. It's a 2-day journey and then a day to get over the journey. So it's a lot of travel and it's expensive. And also what we found is not everybody's comfortable to travel to China. It is very different to the US and the Canadian cultures, whereas Mexico, there's a lot of similarities. People are more comfortable to travel to Mexico to support a startup. You then tend to find there's a lot of logistical costs, hidden logistical costs, coming out of China because the logistic laneway is so long. You've got to allow for that. You've got to plan for that. So you tend to have inventory in your factory in China. You have inventory in a sea container on the way to whichever country you're delivering it to. And then you have buffer inventory in that country as well. So, you're holding a lot more inventory. You're holding a lot more financial risk. And if you want to make changes, you want to incorporate change in one of your products, because you've got such a high amount of inventory, change management takes longer in China. Whereas what we found in Mexico is very close. We can ship everything by truck. We don't have to hold hardly any inventory. The logistics laneway is 3 days versus almost a month when you ship from China. So, change management can be done faster, and as a business, you haven't got all of that cash tied up in inventory and associated risk. So what we tended to find in China is much more difficult to establish a sustainable, profitable company for many years. And it's not unusual to see 3 to 4 in 10 startups in China do not succeed. Once people get past that startup phase, and maybe get to something like year 3, year 4, quite often it fails. And they realize that the model is not going to work, which is unfortunate because, as I say, the people are fantastic and they're very capable of producing very good work. But it's just a more difficult place to do business if you're based in North America compared with Mexico. So many, many, many benefits. Generally, we found the quality coming out of Mexico is much better than China. And because the logistics laneways are shorter, if there is an issue, you will discover it earlier. Whereas if you have an issue with product that's being made in China, because of all the inventory you're holding, you may not discover it for 3 months. And then you've got, bad inventory in your supply chain. That kind of covers most of the issues we've experienced. The other thing, especially running a manufacturing factory, having suppliers support the plant is easier in Mexico. So, simple things like OEM technicians for machines, they're much closer to Mexico. And there's much better infrastructure in Mexico to support those machines. Whereas China, if you want to get an engineer to do a diagnostic on a machine that may have an issue, that could take a week or 2 to get somebody there and fix that piece of equipment. So general infrastructure support is better in Mexico than it is in China. And I generally have found as well, our customers are more willing and more comfortable to visit Mexico than they are to visit China. There's a nervousness there to visit China rather than Mexico. When it comes to American industries, I can say they really have been one of the secrets to our success. They've enabled us to start up the business. We've never written a book of how to start up a factory in Mexico. So it's been great to have American Industries as a partner. They're excellent at what they do. They've enabled us to build a factory in a very professional manner. They've enabled us to recruit great team members and manage the health and safety and environmental regulations appropriately. We have a very safe factory that we're very proud of. And, as partners, we've continued to grow that company, and our plan is to continue to grow it further. So I can only compliment the American Industries team. I can say I've dealt with many of them, and every one of them have been very professional individuals. They know their jobs and always available to have a phone conversation or answer an email any time of the day, 7 days a week. So very, very happy with the American Industries team. They should be very proud of what they built. They really are a very successful company. And I know it's not just us that think that. I speak with many of their other clients. I've never heard a bad word said against American Industries. So, my compliments to Alejandro and his team. Really, really good company. So that is the main differences that I've seen, Mark, between China and Mexico.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Mark. I really appreciate your opinion and your views based on your experiences, of course. And everything, all of those valid points that you brought up, of course, are being compounded by the current situation, whether it's COVID, supply chain disruption, Chinese companies going out of business, the sliding of the dollar, the deterioration in US and Canadian relationships, the sanctions, tariffs, you name it. It's all adding to the challenges that North American companies have got sourcing from China at the moment. Alejandro, as a board member of American Industries, can you please summarize what they can offer North American companies looking to reshore from China, working in partnership with companies like ASMG and Armprior? And are you seeing growing interest in reshoring, and in particular, nearshoring by these companies?
Yes, thank you for the question. This is a very interesting topic. Addressing the first part of your question, first of all, I would like to explain a little bit about our company. We are a privately owned Mexican company that has focused for more than 45 years in supporting international companies in their successful startup and growth of their operations in Mexico. We do this through two different service divisions. One is the Shelter Administrative Service Division, and the other is Industrial Real Estate. We currently support more than 50 companies in operating their manufacturing operations in the country, with more than 16,000 employees amongst those companies. We've developed more than 15 industrial parks throughout Mexico, with more than 125 buildings amongst those industrial parks. And we support more than 30,000 trouble-free import-export transactions in and out of these manufacturing sites. We do this support of companies looking into operating in manufacturing in Mexico, first of all, through a facilitation process. First of all, starting with the site selection process, supporting this very importantly with business case support. What we do is we help our potential clients estimate what is going to be their real operating cost in their manufacturing sites in Mexico, taking into consideration what is their human resource requirement, what is their energy requirements, what is their space requirement, and we come up with a very accurate number of what is really going to be their cost to operate in Mexico. After that, we help them find what is their best real estate location for their operation. And once they've decided where they're going to operate and made the decision to start operating in Mexico, we help them with the startup process. And very importantly is to make sure that they're complying with all the Mexican legal and administrative requirements. We also provide them with manpower they need for their operation. And we also perform their day-to-day custom and transportation logistics. This chart helps explain how we divide the responsibility with our clients in running their operations in Mexico. Our clients focus in the manufacturing, engineering, quality, and their raw materials, purchasing the raw materials. And we support them with the administrative activities that have to do with the local business environment and legal system. So we support them with customs and duties optimization activities, with general administrative requirements such as accounting, fiscal compliance, and with all the activities that are performed by the human resource department. That can be salaries and benefits administration, payroll, among other activities. When is American Industries an ideal partner? It is an ideal partner for companies that want a quick startup into Mexico with low risk and liabilities, when they want an experienced partner on local administrative challenges, be it in logistics, accounting, etc. When they want a partner that has already established robust processes, systems, and experienced administrative personnel, and when they want to leverage from an established local network. This is a slide showing some of the success stories that we've helped start up and operate in Mexico. As you can see, there are many companies in the aerospace industries that have trusted us in supporting their startup in Mexico. One of them, of course, is Empire Aerospace Company, which we're very proud to have been serving for many years now. And there are other important aerospace companies that have trusted us with the startup in Mexico, such as OEMs like Bombardier, Embraer, Beechcraft, Cessna, and companies from many other industries, automotive, very important for us, also medical devices, and many other industries. We've also been trusted by companies from many countries, the US, of course, being one very important country of origin from our manufacturing clients, but also from more than 12 countries. We've helped establish their manufacturing operations in Mexico. Concerning the second part of your questions, we're seeing nearshoring trends into Mexico. And this has been created, this nearshoring trend has been strengthened by the fact that we're seeing a lot of tensions between the US and China, but also from the USMCA agreement, which was approved this year. And from the fact that we're close, from a geographical standpoint, we're close to the North American market. So that creates 80% less shipping time from Mexico to the US compared to China, and 75% savings on transportation costs coming from Mexico as opposed to China. As a result, from these nearshoring trends, we're seeing, according to the Mexican Association of Industrial Parks, that 37% of new projects coming into industrial parks to Mexico are coming from China. So that is a very telling stat about the strength of this trend. Before this year, we were seeing the origin of these new manufacturing projects coming into Mexico. China was less than 10%. So we've seen a very important trend of new projects coming into manufacture in Mexico coming from China. So that is a very telling stat. I hope that I have answered the question comprehensively, and I would like to thank you again for inviting me to this podcast.
You're very welcome, Alejandro. Very interesting information. And yeah, we truly believe that reshoring and nearshoring will accelerate quite, dramatically in the near future. So thank you again. Yeah, the climate today is very interesting, as you can see by this slide. We've talked about some of the issues that North American companies are facing at the moment with their current manufacturing sourcing in China. Obviously, there are business health issues, political issues, environmental issues, and economics as well. Each of these seem to be changing day by day, which could have a profound effect, of course, on supply chain security and the cost as well, and also the fact that there are so many issues surrounded. I won't go into too much detail, but what I want to do now, please, gentlemen, is to get your input, please, into some of these areas where you think they're going to have a profound effect on the supply chain and the supply chain security, and also how you think that the ASMG AIAC group of companies can make a contribution to providing a cost-effective solution. Mark Simmonds, please, could you just give us your opinion on this slide?
Yes, what we've learned over many years of running different factories in different countries is you tend to find there's always a very large focus on unit part price. Often customers, the price of the unit is all they focus on. And they move stuff around the world looking for the best unit part price they can find. However, what we've experienced and a model that we've developed to help our customers understand the total cost of ownership is really a model that shows that it's a bit of an analogy like an iceberg. There's more under the water than above the water. So a lot of people will look at the unit part price, that's all they understand. But actually, if they take all of the total cost of ownership elements in their business for buying those goods, what they would actually find is below the water level, so to speak. They're probably dealing with quality issues, which comes with rework costs, potentially loss of reputation with customers if they deliver poor product, slower delivery, slower reaction times, more difficult to manage change management, hidden tariffs that may be occurring somewhere else in their financials but are linked to the products that they're bringing in from different countries. Wage increases, depending where you're geographically located, particularly in China, the wage increases year over year are significant. As the standard of living has increased, so have the expectations and so have the wage increases in that country. Cash on order demands, where some suppliers, they insist on payment in advance, so you get limited payment terms. Order flexibility, you end up buying huge lot sizes to really spread the costs of maybe a sea freight container. You may fill a complete container to save some logistics costs, but it means you're ordering huge lot sizes rather than using a just-in-time model and minimizing your inventory in your system. And then loss of customer satisfaction. You're getting a cheap unit price product, but you do get what you pay for, that old term that we all use. And sometimes you're getting a poor product. Whereas if you took the entire cost of ownership, took all of these elements together, you may actually find that your unit price is much, much, much higher. We believe you would on product you're buying from China versus your total cost of ownership of product you'd be buying from North America, like Mexico or Canada or the US. So what we're trying to do with our customers is help them understand what their true cost of ownership is, rather than just focusing on the unit piece price and having a lot of hidden costs below the waterline.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark, especially when you consider the intangibles as well. Some of those, if you could put a price on some of those, that would be significant.
Indeed. So what our model really drives towards is understanding what an integrated supply chain really looks like. What is the true total cost of ownership, and how secure is your supply chain? If your supply chain is insecure, the amount of additional costs that can drive for your business is significant. Having to buy parts in an expedite mode, maybe having to pay premium freight, premium rework costs. Any good manufacturing business, they are as good as the supply chain that is working with them. If your supply chain is not secure, your business will have challenges. So here at ASMG, basically what we offer is a very solid, vertically integrated model. We're able to help companies relocate work fast if they're having difficulties with their supply chain. We have a team in China that can help actually go into a Chinese supplier that may be in trouble and help pull that work into North America. And as you can tell by the slide, we satisfy many different market segments, the aerospace, medical, automotive, oil and gas. And we really do have some significant manufacturing capabilities. In essence, we can take raw material, whether it be sheet metal or billets or forgings. We can create forgings, we can fabricate product, we can machine it, all the way through to applying coatings and assembling the product. So the value we offer our customers is a secure supply chain at a competitive value, and we're able to flatten the supply chain because the customer can order a fully integrated assembly rather than having to worry about many tentacles in a supply chain if they buy all those items separately.
Yeah, and that in itself, Mark, is potentially a tremendous saving. Please tell us some more, just elaborate some more on the capabilities of the ASM group and again, how that fits into the vertically integrated solution that we can offer.
Thank you, Mark. So from the forging standpoint, we have two facilities, both in the US. One primarily does closed die forgings, impression die forgings, and the other was semi-open die and open. Both companies do vertically integrate with our other divisions in terms of doing further machining and finishing. We have all the NADCAP and special process approvals. We have heat treat, NDTs. We have chemical processing lines. So we have the full suite of capabilities within our group of companies, including welding. We do aerostructures. We have facilities in Canada, and we have a facility in Portland, Oregon. We have another facility in Chihuahua. And we also do machining, some machining in Chihuahua, machining in Portland. We also do machining in Rochester, New York at Empire Rapid Manufacturing Solutions, where we do injection molding, thermoplastics. We do precision machining, grinding, multi-axis machining. We do sheet metal work and fab as well there. We have the facility in Spain, which is Mattis, which does high-end specialty from a military and commercial aviation and commercial projects where we help design and build and make individual circuit boards and or assemblies. And then we have our aero engine group that does 5-axis milling and CNC milling. Then we have a facility, Super Alloy, that's in Ohio that does 5-axis CNC machining along with electrochemical machining on a whole myriad of components that go on aircraft engines and land-based turbines. So you can see that all of these companies are available. They work together. We can do projects where we start a particular project in the US and it goes to Mexico, or we start a project in Canada, it goes to the US or goes to Mexico, and vice versa. And these companies are all interrelated to help each other and help our supplier get the best solution, whether it's a short-term, intermediate, or long-term solution that provides them what they need, along with the security of backup capability should something happen in one part of the world or another. So we think we offer a superior solution and capability that we're continually evolving and adding more resources to over time.
Great. Thanks, John. Really appreciate that. Gentlemen, thank you so much. This has been so interesting to learn the background and the justification, of course, for nearshoring into Mexico and how the ASMG group of companies can contribute to the providing supply chain solutions and security without any shadow of a doubt. So first, a huge thank you to our expert panelists, John Wilbur, Mark Simmonds, and Alejandro Lara. Thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate your participation, gentlemen. And thank you for the viewers as well. I hope that they found this podcast enjoyable and informative. They can certainly contact any of us at any time to get additional information. Please look out for the next podcast in the series as we begin to focus on the challenges North American companies face with manufacturing in China and how ASMG and American industries can help provide that optimized vertically integrated reshore or nearshore supply chain solution. One thing I'm sure we can all agree on is that the situation, for a number of reasons, is rapidly changing and is reaching a critical point that will profoundly disrupt US and Canadian company supply chains. So again, I want to thank you guys for joining us, gentlemen. And until next time, see you again. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.